Hi, I'm Diana Florio, a licensed physical therapist, strength coach, and yoga teacher, co-founder of Threes Phys Yoga, here to tell you today that a diagnosis of osteoporosis does not mean you need to take away all the joy out of your movement. I want to tell you about Cheryl. Cheryl was a student in our online studio who received a diagnosis of osteoporosis from her doctor. But along with that diagnosis, she received information to avoid yoga, to avoid certain movements for fear of fracture, of hurting herself. And she just received a lot of fear. Now, Cheryl loved doing yoga. That was where she connected with her community, connected with herself, kept staying mobile, flexible, active, and feeling strong. And so when her doctor took that away from her, it took away a lot more than just a movement practice. And see, not all yoga for osteoporosis is created the same. There are lots of classes you can do that would protect you with osteoporosis in a yoga class, teach you to restrict yourself so you didn't do those movements that are contraindicated to help you avoid fractures. But yoga alone is not enough over time to build and maintain strong bones. We adapt, and therefore we need to continue to add more load. That means resistance training. So the bigger problem really for Cheryl was that taking away her movement practice because, quote unquote, we weren't sure if it was safe from her doctor, was that she lost all of the joy and the connection of being with her community, being with her practice. She also was scared to do things like garden and play with her grandkids. And that all took away a lot of the joy in her life. And over time, it made her big life full of cool, fun movements, smaller and smaller and smaller, to the point where she didn't really know what she could do anymore that wouldn't hurt her bones. So I want to show you one move that's really helpful when you have osteoporosis. It's helpful for helping you pick things up off the ground and avoiding that rounded spine posture, but it's also a way to start building some stronger bones. We're going to do a kickstand deadlift. You don't need any equipment. I'm actually going to do it barefoot on my floor. You'll see I have a weight. We can add that later. You'll have your left foot forward and your right foot slightly back behind you, and you could start with your whole foot on the ground. Just make sure you're not like tightly packed together like you're on a tightrope, but that your feet are more like on a train track. And then this move is all about a hip hinge. So I take the pinky edges of my hands and put them right in my hip creases, and I'll softly bend my left knee. And then I'll put my hands here back in those hip creases and then hinge at my hips. So I'm sticking my butt out with my flat spine. I'm not gonna round my back because that's a contraindication. And I'll bend over as far as I can go, where I'll start to feel a little bit of a stretch in my hamstrings, and that's okay. To come out of it, I'm gonna push into my front foot mostly and think about squeezing right where my butt and hamstrings meet, my butt strings, to pull me back up. And you can try that again. Now, if that feels okay, you can lift the back heel off the ground. It's a little more challenging for your balance, but that's a good thing to work on when you have osteoporosis. And then let's pair our breath with it. So we'll inhale, hinge forward, fold. And then exhale, push into the front foot, come on back up. And then if you're feeling pretty comfortable, I've got a kettlebell and you can use that. Exhale, push up. Inhale, the kettlebell will move down to about mid-shin. Once I feel that stretch, I exhale, push up, pushing up mainly with my front foot. Good. So you can shoot to do that with or without weight, whatever feels like the right level for your body, for about 10 reps on each side. Now, why is that such a good exercise to do for osteoporosis? Well, number one, you're avoiding spinal flexion, which is contraindicated to avoid vertebral fractures. Number two, you're working on hip and glute strength, which is really important for posture and balance and building bone mass. And three, as you add weight, your muscles will get stronger. They'll support your joints. Your bones will adapt and get stronger as well. It's a great exercise to practice for osteoporosis. I really want to tell you that we are excited to share some information that is some cutting edge research about osteoporosis with an expert in the field, Payal Sanhi. Payal is the New York State Director of Education and Prevention for Osteoporosis. She's also a doctor of physical therapy. I want to remind you of what not to do with your diagnosis. What not to do? Don't stop moving. Find someone you trust to guide you into movement that is safe and effective for your diagnosis. Something that's going to keep you strong, mobile, and working on your balance. Because the biggest myth in the osteoporosis world is that doing yoga is just enough, but it's not. Because over time you adapt to it, and it's not enough to keep you getting strong, mobile, balanced, and dense, dense bones. And then finally, I'd love to invite you to join us for our brand new webinar, putting all of this information together for you with a lot more tips, called Outsmarting Osteoporosis, Mindfully Moving for Resilience. You can find all of the details in the caption.